If you've ever struggled to make an accurate print from a photo, the problem may be with the soft proofing and not your printer. In this video, I'll explain the soft proofing process step by step using DxO Photolab 6. I'll also share some of the common mistakes and how to avoid them. The starting point for the soft proofing is the finished image after editing. Be sure to get this looking just the way that you want it to on screen. It's important when doing this that you're working on an accurately calibrated monitor. If you aren't, then the finished print is probably not going to be accurate. I'll include a link to an article in the YouTube description with more information about this. I currently have the image I want to print open in the Photo Library module. But before I softproof this, I'll duplicate the image by creating a virtual copy. You can do this by right-clicking the image and selecting the Create Virtual Copy option. The virtual copy only exists inside of Photolab and avoids the risk of changing the original image during softproofing. Now we can work on softproofing the virtual copy by opening it in the Customize module. This is where you'll find the softproofing tools. They're in the color group of controls down at the bottom, and the panel will probably be turned off. When I turn on the panel, a couple of things happen. The first is that we see this warning message. It's telling us that the softproofing has been turned on and recommending we work on a virtual copy of the image. Because we've already created our virtual copy, we can just click OK and ignore this message. The other thing that we see is that the background surrounding the image is set to white. This is to help us visualize what the print is going to look like. Or at least it does if we can see more of the background. I'll therefore reduce the level of magnification for the image to 40% so that we can see the white background surrounding it. Now, when I edited this image, I was working in the Adobe RGB color space, and that profile is embedded into the image. That's why if I set the ICC profile for the softproof to the same color space, it doesn't have any effect on the image. You can check this using the Compare button. If I click this, you can see the original image. And then when I release it, we see the softproof again. Now watch what happens to the softproof when I change the profile to PhotoSpeed Natural Soft Texture Paper. You can see that it changes the contrast and colour in the image. What's happening is that the softproof is now simulating how the image will look when printed with that paper. But because that paper can't handle the colours in the image, they are shifted to something that can be printed. That's why we see the change in the image. We say that these colours that can't be printed are out of gamut. It's also possible to check for these by turning on the gamut warning indicator. When I click the warning icon to the top right of the histogram, we can see the out of gamut colours in red. Now watch what happens if I switch back to the Adobe RGB colour profile. The warnings vanish because that colour space can handle all the colours in the image. But let's go back to the PhotoSpeed paper profile we were using before, because there's a common problem that you need to know about. We've already seen the colours shift with this profile, and we can also see the gamut warnings. At this point, a common mistake is to change the profile to a different one, thinking that will fix the problem. Let me show you what I mean by selecting the PhotoSpeed Baryta paper. As you can see, the gamut warning is largely gone. This makes a lot of people think that if they used this profile, the print will look good, but that's not necessarily true. The print will only look good if you print it to the paper that the profile is intended for. What the softproof is showing us is that the PhotoSpeed Baryta paper could handle all the colours in this image, and it's much better than the other paper. We should therefore probably choose the Baryta paper to make a print of this image. But there's still a problem with the profile, which we can see using the Compare button again. Notice that the softproof is lighter than the original image, so the print will also be lighter. What's causing this is something called the rendering intent. If you think back to the out of gamut colours we talked about, I said that the colours are being changed to something that can be printed. This is where the rendering intent comes in, because that's telling the computer how to change the colours. At the moment, we can see the intent is set to perceptual. With this rendering intent, all the colours in the image are changed in an attempt to make the photo look good. Whilst the image still looks okay, making it lighter does lose something compared to the original. Now let's change to the relative rendering intent, which is also supported by Photolab. Notice that the image is now darker, and if we compare it with the original image, it looks almost identical. What's happening when we use the relative rendering is that only the out of gamut colours are affected. Those are now changed to the nearest colour that can be printed, which is why we don't see much change from the original image. Using the soft proofing process so far, we've been able to determine the best paper and printer settings to use, but there's one further soft proofing option that we need to look at, which is Simulate Paper and Ink. When I turn that on, notice the image loses some of its contrast. Because of this, most people ignore it, but that's another big mistake. What this does is that it makes the image on screen simulate the print that's going to be produced. If you don't like what you're seeing on screen here, you will probably be disappointed with the print as well. What we really need to do is apply adjustments to the soft proof to make it look like the original image. I find that it's easiest to judge this whilst using the split screen preview. Now we can see the original image on the left and the soft proof on the right. Comparing the two, I can see that the colours are reproduced accurately, but the contrast has been reduced. This tells me that we need to adjust the virtual copy to correct it before we print it. If I switch to the light group, I can use the controls there to add contrast to the image. Now there's much less difference between the original and the soft proof. I'll also try increasing the brightness of the midtones a little. Now for another common mistake, which you can see if we look at the darkest shadows. Notice how they don't appear as dark as on the original image when I place the split preview over them. That's because my screen can produce a darker black than the black ink on paper. This is true of all photo papers, although some will be better than others. Don't try to make the mistake of trying to match the blacks exactly in the image, or you'll probably make the image too dark. If you find that you have a significant problem with this, you're probably going to be better trying to change to a paper that can handle black better. You'll also find that black ink on paper looks much better when the print is behind glass. Now that we have the image looking correct in the soft proof, let's turn off the split screen view, and then the soft proofing. Notice how bad this makes the image look, which is now much darker than the original. Don't worry about this though, because what we now see on screen isn't how the print will look. We only see that when we use the soft proofing options with all the settings that we've looked at. A common mistake at this point is to start fiddling around with the settings again because you think something must be wrong with the image. If you make more changes without checking the soft proof, the print won't match the original image. You're now ready to print this image. If my Photolab printing video has been released, you'll see it on screen now. If not, why not watch my Perfect Prints video instead? Thanks for watching today, and I hope you found the video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and please take a moment to share this. I'll see you soon for another video.